Okay. So one of the things I told you earlier this year is one of the things I'll do this year is show you lots of shortcuts or easier ways to do things. And so that's what we're gonna look at today. I'm gonna show you a really, really easy way to do something. So if you'll put at the top of your next empty page, comparing fractions. Okay, comparing fractions. Okay, and there's a really, really easy way to do this. Comparing fractions. Okay, so fractions have the same denominator. It's really easy to compare them. So if I had 10 pieces of candy here, and I said to Thaxton, okay, you can get 3 out of the 10, and I told Laird you can get 7 out of the 10. Obviously, Laird's getting more. 7 out of 10 is more than 3 out of 10. If the denominator is the same, it's easy, right? When it's hard is when the denominator is not the same, and you're like, wait, which fraction's bigger? So I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to look at 5/6 and 7/8. Okay, 5/6 and 7/8. Okay, now, the way that I was taught to do this when I was in school, and most of the math teachers will show you to do it this way, is you get a common denominator, then get the numerator, you know, like say, okay, what's the common denominator between these two? It would be 24. Then you would have to say, okay, equals 24, get the top, you know, like we did with equivalent fractions. That takes forever. Okay, this is a fast way to do this, and it works every single time you're comparing fractions. So I want you to draw an arrow from the 8 going up to the 5, like this. Okay, and we're going to multiply 8 times 5. And so what do we get when we multiply 8 times 5, Thaxton?
40.
So we're going to put a 40 right here. Then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to draw an arrow, and we're going to put the answer to 6 times 7 here. And so what do we get when we multiply 6 times 7, Annika?
42.
42. Okay, the bigger fraction is the one with the bigger number next to it. So which is my bigger fraction, 5/6 or 7/8, Saxon?
78.
7/8. Okay, and it works every single time you're comparing fractions. All you do is multiply, whichever one has the bigger number, that's my bigger fraction. Okay, super easy. So let's go to your whiteboard and we're gonna try some comparing fractions. Yes?
Wouldn't you just be able to know with 7/8 and I think 5/6? Because 7/8 is just bigger.
Not necessarily. I mean, you wouldn't know that.
Denominator's different.
Yeah, you wouldn't know that, not with the denominator different. Okay, let's look at 4/7. Okay, 4/7 and 6/9. Okay, so again, you're gonna go this way, a number, this way, a number. Okay, so what are we gonna get for our bigger fraction? And again, the only thing you have to remember is you're always going from the bottom to the top. Okay, that's the only thing you have to remember. Don't get confused and go the opposite direction. So Graham, what would we get for our bigger fraction? 6/9, because this is what?
Because that's 42 and that's 36.
Right, 36 and 42, so this would be my bigger fraction. Okay, and I'll bring your ticket to you just 1 second. All right, let's try another one. All right, what about, let's see. Let's do 3/4. Okay, 3/4 and 2/3. Okay, 3/4 and 2/3. So again, you just multiply bottom to top, get your two numbers. Whichever number is bigger, that's your bigger fraction. So easy. Annika.
3/4.
Right, because that's 9 and that's 8. So it is bigger. Right? Yes, Annika.
But then again, that 3/4 is bigger than 2/3.
It is bigger, but you wouldn't necessarily know that, because if you have 3 things and you say get 2, that's almost all of it, correct? If you have 4 things and you say get 3, that's almost all of it. And so you're not 100% sure which one's bigger until you check it, because the denominator is not the same. So the denominator is not the same, you can't tell. Okay, let's look at 5/6 and 2/3. Okay, 5/6 and 2/3. So again, we need a number here and a number here. Okay, so which one would be bigger? Sophia? Sophie, sorry. 5, 6 is bigger, right, 'cause this is 15 and 12. 15 and 12. Okay, also, sometimes you're gonna have kind of big numbers that you're like, oh my gosh, I have to multiply those big numbers, but I'm gonna show you something you can do. If the numbers are not big, but bigger than like what the ones that we've been looking at, which multiply really quickly. So let's look at something like 11/20, okay, which is again a little bigger than what we've been looking at, and 9/15. Okay, and you're looking at that and you're like, oh gosh, I have to multiply 15 times 11, and well, you don't, because look what you can do here. Okay, we can reduce 9/15 first to make this problem a lot easier, because we know that 3 goes into both numbers. And so, Thaxton, what would that reduce to? 3/5. Then you're multiplying 5 times 11, that goes here. 20 times 3, that goes here. So we made our problem easier and faster to multiply by doing that. And so which fraction would be bigger, Amelia?
11/20.
11, so this is 55,
Yeah.
and this is 20 times 3.
I mean, 3/5.
Yeah, exactly, because this is going to be 20 times 3, which is 2 times 3 out of 0, which is 60. So we have 55 versus 60, so 60 is going to be our bigger number. All right, let's look at another one where if we reduce it, it's going to make it easier for us. All right, look at this problem. Okay, what if we have 15/21, and we're comparing that with 4/7? Okay, and again, we can reduce this first so we don't have to multiply with such big numbers. So we know that 3 goes into both of those numbers. And so what could 15/21 reduce to, Thaxton?
5/7.
We could reduce it to 5/7, and look what happens. You don't even need to use the shortcut because we have the same denominator. And so we have 5/7 and 4/7, so obviously 5/7 is going to be our bigger fraction because they have the same denominator. Okay, and let's look at another one that the numbers are sort of big, but we can make them smaller. Okay, so let's do 36 out of 81. And let's compare that with 18/27. Okay, and hopefully you notice that 9 goes into every one of these numbers. All of these numbers are a multiple of 9, which means that we can reduce both of these fractions by dividing by 9 on everything. And so what would we get over here if we reduce that by 9, Annika?
4/9.
Okay, and then let's reduce this one by 9 because 9 goes into both of those numbers too. Lucas.
2/3.
2/3. Okay, so now we're looking at 4 9ths and 2/3. So obviously way smaller numbers. So 3 times 4, 9 times 2. Hannah. 2/3 because we're going to have 18 versus 12. Exactly. Yes, that's
Will there ever be a situation where you have the exact same number when you multiply them?
yes, and then they would just be equal fractions.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you had the same thing, they would be equal fractions. Yeah, they would be equal. So for instance, if you had something like this, 2/3 and 4/6, because those are equal fractions, times 2 times 2, right?
You just times 2.
If you do this,
Yeah.
you get 12
And you get.
and 12 because they're equal fractions, which we already knew. Because remember, whatever you do on the top, you do on the bottom. So we would already know that, but that proves it because they both equal 12. Okay, you're going to continue to practice this with a game. For this game, it's going to be best if you sit side by side with the person that you're with. So once you get with your partner, you need to be sitting side by side. And for this game, you're going to need a deck of cards. And if you will, first of all, when you get the cards, the first thing you need to do is take out your face cards, okay, which again are not jokers or aces, okay, it's only kings, queens, jacks, and most of the time they're gonna be right together in the deck, so I would look first because they're probably gonna be together. After you get them out, put them back in here, Okay, put them back in here, you don't need them for this game, so stick them back in your container. And then, you're also gonna need, this game board, okay, so you need this game board, deck of cards, and then after we get everybody ready, where you've gotten all of your face cards out and you have your deck ready to go, I'll explain how to play. Okay, but again, if you'll sit side by side, if we have to have a group of 3, I'll explain to the group of 3 how to do this with 3. Okay, so just send one person over. Just send one person to grab your deck of cards and your game board. Jameson, you need to get the notes from somebody. Like right now. Jameson, before you do the game, you need to get the notes real quick.
Should just be our.
Somebody grab them, they ask me who you are, they're.
I'm gonna learn this song.
Okay, Ken, you want to sit side by side, okay, side by side. No, like literally side by side. Like not on end, but like literally side by side. Yeah, you want to sit side by side.
Is it a group of 3? Oh, y'all look wrong. Where's a group of 3? Is this a group of 3?
Wait, not there. If you're gonna sit side by side, you want to sit like this. Y'all want to be too squished.
Wait, is this a group of 3? I don't know. I'm not in their group. I'll do the
Wait just a second, y'all. Does it make sense to sit side by side on this tiny piece right here? No. You're going to sit on the long side of the table. There's an entire table right there that's not being used. There's an entire table right here that's not being used. You do not need to sit on the end of the table. Haley, with y'all, you can sit on the end, because I'm gonna show you, y'all are gonna play a different way with 3 people. You can sit on the end, but y'all are gonna be switching seats. Alright, so right now, all you should be doing is getting out your face cards and putting them back into your container. Okay, getting out your face cards, putting them back into your container, and then don't do anything else. Not, please follow directions. Okay, please follow directions. Okay, again, y'all gotta listen because you hold up the rest of the class when you're not following directions. Okay, your directions were to get with your partner, get your face cards out. Daxton and Lucas, there's an entire table behind you that's not being used. I would use that one, so you're not right on top of each other. Alright, so again, aces and jokers are not face cards. They stay in the deck. The only thing that comes out are your face cards, which are Jack, King, and Queen. Jack, King, and Queen. They need to come out and go back in your container. Okay, and then you're not going to deal the deck or anything. Just have your deck ready. And again, that's all the number cards, your jokers, and your aces. No. The jokers stay. I said that already. Okay, so I need everybody to listen. Okay, your face card should be back in your container now. Okay, your face card should be back in your container. Back in your container. Again, you want your face cards back in your container. You don't need them, so just put them back so they're out of your way. Alright, so obviously like this says, you're going to be playing Fraction War, okay? What you're going to do is you're just going to have your deck of cards. You don't need to deal it or anything. So each round, so like Amelia will take the top 2 cards. She'll look at them because she needs to know which number is smaller. Okay, remember aces are 1. A is the first letter of the alphabet. Aces are 1, jokers are 11. So her fraction is going to be 1/2. So she's going to put 1/2 on her side of the board. Okay, Macy will take the next 2 cards, and she has a 10 and an 11. So she's gonna put 10 elevenths on her side, okay? And then they're gonna do, like we just did, you are going to multiply, okay? So for instance, Amelia's number is gonna be this times this, and then her number is over here. So she's gonna have 11 times 1, so her number is 11. Macy's gonna have 2 times 10, her number's 20. So 20 versus 11, Macy's fraction is bigger, those 4 cards go to her. Okay? Now, if you get, like Faxon asked a minute ago, it is possible that you get 2 fractions that when you multiply them, you get the same thing. So you might get a 12 and they get a 12. If so, then you'll each lay down another fraction and then go, and then whoever wins is gonna get all those
Just
cards.
like regular war.
Okay? If you get a whole number, so for instance, if you get 3 over 3, unless they get a whole number, you're gonna beat them, because a whole number is gonna beat any fraction. So if you get a whole number of 1, like 3 over 3, 4 over 4, 5 over 5, or whatever, unless they get a whole number 2, you automatically beat them. Okay, you keep going till the cards are all gone, and then whoever has the most cards will be the winner. Okay? But again, and I've got it on here to remind you, if you're sitting over here, this is your number. If you're sitting over here, this is your number, okay? And let me show the group of 3 how to do this. Okay, so what you're gonna do is, y'all are gonna go. So y'all go ahead and go. Wait, we'll go ahead and look at it first, because you got a smaller number of pops, that's most likely the smaller number. It is. And so you're gonna have a smaller number on top. Okay, let me see who wins. So your number's that, 44. And your number is 5. So 44 beats 5, so you won that round. So now you're coming in, and you're gonna do against her because she won. So you keep switching, so that way you're all playing the whole time. So now, Caitlin, go again, yes. And then you're gonna grab 2. And look at them, and you put the small number on top. Alright, so your number is what? Your number is 8. Your number is 6 and 3. So you won. So you get those 4 cards, and again it goes to you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Look at it, so you can put the smaller number on top and get 1 hole.
Yeah.
Not unless you might have, so you already, if you had gotten 5 for 2 seconds, you won. Alright, so there's a smaller number on top.
I got yes, sir.
Smaller number on top. Oh, you got 1 hole, it doesn't matter.
Oh, I got it.
Alright. Smaller number on top. Smaller number on top. Alright, so your number is this. No. You're this way. You have 10 times, no. You go this way. 10 times 3, you're 8 times 6, you're 48. And you get the card. Alright, take 2. Take 2.
Yeah, I can do that.
So your number is what? No. Your number is 22. Your number is 7 times 3. 21. So you get the card. No. You get the card. 22. We got to do 2. Alright. Alright, what's your number? What's your number? Okay, his number is this. And your number is this. You're gonna lay down your next card. Again, on top of it. Wait, look at it first so that you can lay them down a smaller number on top. This goes here, this goes here.
We had the exact same.
Alright, so your number is 7. Your number is no, you're This is the number, see whose fraction's bigger. 2 times 4 is 8, 8 times 1 is also 8. So that means you're going down 2 more cards. Remember on top. Wait, remember on top.
Please get a
On top.
Please get a
Okay, now you're gonna go again. Your number is 50, your number is 64. You get all those cards.
So we've got 6.
Okay, I'm coming. Go ahead and start again. Alright, so your number is 110. Your number is 81. And there's only 2 cards left, and I don't count.
Guys, give me my $100 bill.